Hey guys, it is Kay Carter here, and today I'm going to be doing a right side up agency review, what they actually do and why it's actually different. Now, before I actually get into this review, I want to explain how I really approach this. So, I didn't just skim their website or read Reddit threads or whatever's online. I actually took the time to sit down with their leadership team and walk through their model, their vetting process, and how they think about client fit and also talent fit. And honestly, I'm gonna be very transparent with you guys. A lot of what makes them different doesn't actually even show up online. So I'm gonna break it down to you guys today. So what is Right Side Up and like what do they actually do? So Right Side Up is not a traditional agency, I'll tell you that. They're not just a freelancer marketplace either. From what I learned, their model is built around three core offers. Number one being fractional marketing talent. Number two being curated agency teams. And number three being retained executive search. And they kind of deploy all three of these, like depending on what the client actually needs. And I would say that that is super important because most agencies, they only have like one lever, okay? You either hire them, as an agency or you don't. In Right Side Up's model, they're flexible by design. So they can basically place a fractional growth marketer at 10 hours a week, or a full 40-hour operator, or an entire channel team, or they can run a retained search for a full-time hire. Sometimes clients use more than one at the same time as well. So where do they actually differ from like traditional agencies? So this is the part I think like most people misunderstand. With traditional agencies, you usually meet like the senior salesperson or like the strategist first, right? Then after you sign, execution gets handed off to like a junior team and they're running playbooks. Right Side Up kind of flipped that. Like they flipped it completely. With RSU, what I learned is that you meet the actual talent before signing a contract. And I like that a lot. That's not marketing language, that's built into their actual process. And that's different. So before anything is signed, the clients interview the operator. Okay. And what that kind of means for you or anyone working with them is you're going to know exactly who you're working with. You confirm personality fit, you confirm organizational fit, and you confirm capability, which is super important. And that is a direct response to how agencies traditionally operate, right? So then I want to talk about the vetting process. And I think that this is bigger than it looks. So one thing I pressed them on was like their vetting process, because everyone says they have A+ talent and everyone's so good and things like that. But what's different here, and what I really loved hearing about RSU, is that talent talks internally with RSU, okay? At least 3 times before ever meeting the client. That's huge, okay? They assess both technical ability and also the soft skills, and they also catalog behavioral traits into their internal. They're just not matching based on like channel experience, right? They're matching based on stakeholder management ability. They're matching on comfort, inside the complex org structures. They're matching based on the early stage scrappiness, versus the enterprise rigor. And they're also matching based on communication style, which is super, super important. And the team doing the vetting, they are former in-house growth marketers. That's really nice. And they're not like some, generic recruiters. It's kind of like they learned to say it like this, that it takes one to know one. And they had that it takes one to know one mentality. And that's very core to how they evaluate talent in my opinion. Who are they actually for? So I asked them directly, who are you not for? Like who do you not service? And the honest answer was nuance. They serve companies across industries, but there are practical filters, to be honest. So like companies without product market fit, extremely small mom and pop operations, organizations that can't afford senior talent, they're historically like tech oriented, right? But they work across e-commerce, CPG, enterprise, SMB, multinational brands. And the common thread isn't industry, it's readiness, right? Companies who need high-level marketing talent, they value flexibility, and they actually want to adapt their model over time. So when companies choose RSC over an agency, let's talk about that. I asked them basically like, what triggers a company to choose them instead of a traditional agency? The answer wasn't price. It was actually flexibility and quality. Clients come to them basically when they're tired of being locked in rigid containers. They're tired and they want to meet the operator. They want flexibility, like a 7-day out clause. They don't want a media, arbitrage incentives. They want senior operators actually doing the work, right? And a lot of their growth came from word of mouth, which was a really good thing because we know in today's world, if someone says you're good and that passes on another seed, then you actually grow. And that's just not something you can see plastered all over landing pages, but it's something that you can hear when you actually talk, to leadership, like I did. Okay, so I wanted to know what did success look like in 60 to 90 days? And that was another very important question. What does success actually look like early on? And the honest answer is it depends on deployment type. So for like agency teams, launching channels matter, standing up the testing frameworks, establishing the budget perimeters, getting stakeholder alignment. For like fractional operators, it was meeting stakeholders, integrating into OKRs, proving channel viability, establishing repeatable growth processes. And for like executive placements, it was basically making strategic budget calls, guiding leadership decisions, building internal structures. There is no definition of success because the deployments range from tactical to executive, I would say. And that flexibility is just the point, it is the point. And to kind of like backtrack for like decision making in ambiguous situations, another interesting thing that I kind of found out was decision making really depends on level, right? So junior or channel level operators, they do like informed decisions, test report, they bring leadership along. For like fractional VPs or like CMOs, they make budget decisions, they guide the channel strategy, and they also, influence the executive direction. It's not a one size fits all. They kind of like all calibrate anatomy, based on seniority. Another thing was like, insight you won't find online. So like this is the real like insider. I asked them something very directly, okay? What's something about RSU that I would not find online? And the answer was simple, but it was very, very powerful. They are obsessed over both client satisfaction and talent satisfaction equally, right? They run NPSs on both sides. They treat talents as clients. And that matters because in today's world, people are so quick to kind of just grab the money and go or put you in these lengthy retainers and not really care. But because in a marketplace model, it would be easy to prioritize whoever pays. But they build an internal like ethos around balance. And if the talent isn't happy, the client won't be. And if the client isn't happy, the model breaks. So that obsession with like pairing and maintaining both sides is core to how they operate. And that's just, it's not something that you fully see unless you ask. Honestly, friends, right side up is not the cheapest option. I'm being very honest. And they're not trying to be, right? They're not a traditional agency and they're not a freelancer platform. They are a flexible marketing talent deployment company that actually adapts to the client's needs. So if you want rigid contracts and package services, that's not them, right? But if you want like a vetted senior, marketing operators that you can actually meet before signing with flexibility built in, that's where they stand out. And from what I've seen, that flexibility is intentional. I love sitting down with leadership and actually learning more about this company. And from all of the great things that I've heard and being able to learn more, I think that they are an amazing option for those who are serious about their growth. Again, it's Kay Carter, guys.